Avengers, assemble. Welcome back to Sanders Presents. I'm Greg, and if you're enjoying the content we're producing, please consider following that link in the description below to become an Avenger today by joining our Patreon. We have two tiers available, a $3 tier and a $5 Avenger Premium tier. And that $5 Avenger Premium tier gets you added as a founding Avenger to our Avenger Memorial, and you are in the credits of every single video. And these are our Avenger Premium members: Fairy Cake Ed, One Shot, One Kill, Treasure Valentine, and Fishy. Thank you all so much for your support, for making this content possible, and for supporting us on Patreon. Now, we're going to get right into it. We have continuously been covering the latest on the the massively multiplayer online game set in the Marvel universe. Of course, it is being developed by Dimensional Inc. here in Austin, Texas. It is being published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and of course, Dimensional Inc. is a part of the Daybreak Games family, which was acquired by the NEAD 7. So, again, it's a very large group of developers in terms of where we're at right now. So we are winding the clock back, and I've been working on this a while, trying to put all the pieces together, but we have it here. So we have to go all the way back to 2017. We have to really wind the clock back, because in 2017, Daybreak Games was working on a Marvel massively multiplayer, an MMO RPG. And in that game, you would create your own character, and you would you'd basically be living in the Marvel universe. And it was going to be a very traditional MMO. You know, you would have your key bindings, you would have all that kind of standard regular structure. And from 2017 through most of 2018, this Marvel Universe MMORPG was in development, and several pieces of concept art were leaked out as a result during this game's development, and we're gonna quickly show you them right now. Immediately off, you see that we have Red Skull. Of course, he was going to be a villain, obviously Marvel Universe, but it just goes to show, like, this was going to be a very large-scale game pulling from literally the entire Marvel IP. Here was their working design on Captain America, a costume design that I honestly actually like a great deal. I think this is a really good design, and I like the helmet that they went with. It's immediately iconic, it's distinctive, and it distinguishes itself from other uses of the IP, and I appreciate it. I think it looks really good. And then here we have their rendition of Iron Man. So, as I said, throughout 2017 and 2018, they were working on this Marvel MMO. And again, it was being made in Austin by the same people who had worked on DC Universe Online. Until December 2018. In December 2018, over 70 people at Daybreak Austin were laid off. And due to creative differences and issues from the top, the Marvel Universe game was shelled and languished in development hell. Since December 2018, it had not been touched at all. And again, this was going to be a very traditional MMO. It was going to have gear. It was going to have abilities. There was going to be multiple classes. You'd create your own character, and you'd be interacting with Marvel heroes and villains. And that's where the story ended, or so we thought, because as has been revealed, and as we've been covering quite thoroughly in terms of this, in terms of what we know of this game, which is still very little, but at the investor presentation from ENAD Global 7, they announced that, along with, of course, their purchases and singing the praise of their investors and the Daybreak Games family, which included Dimensional Inc. Austin, again, which, that was Daybreak Austin. It's now, Dimensional Inc. EG7 announced that Daybreak Games had Dimensional Inc. developing a next-gen action, massively multiplayer online game set in the Marvel Universe. Now, I would not jump to the fact that this means that the Marvel MMO that we're looking at concept art here has been revived. I wouldn't jump to that. Now, like I said, it is, by all accounts, technically unannounced. It is being developed by Dimensional Inc. with a team led by Jack Emmert, who, of course, as you know or may not know, he designed City of Heroes, and he's currently leading the DC Universe Online title. So there is quite the pedigree behind this. What's interesting to note, though, is that in the investor presentation that Enid Global 7, just quickly, Enid Global 7, during their investor presentation, they didn't specifically refer to it as a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And again, I might just be getting too much into it, but I thought it was interesting because they referred to it during their investor presentation as a massively multiplayer online game. They took out the role-playing. And specifically, they described it as an action-based, massively multiplayer online game. That might not mean anything. It could be me, reading a whole great deal into the absence of a couple of letters and a couple of words. It might not mean anything at all, but it is something still worth noting. Now, officially, nothing else has been said about this game. Enid Global 7, Daybreak Games, Dimensional Inc., they haven't said anything. And again, Dimensional Inc. is in Austin. That was Daybreak Austin. That was, that studio in Austin, what is Dimensional Inc. They were the ones building the Marvel Universe MMO. But again, remember, over 70 people were fired in 2018. Most of those people, they were completely laid off. This is not the same people even working on it. So I wouldn't really count this as, they're picking up from where they left off in 2018 and they're just continuing on with this game. There's no evidence of any of that right now. And on top of the fact that they specifically note that it is action-oriented, and even one of the creators even noted that you won't be pressing A to perform an attack, which I thought was a really interesting key phrase. I don't know if that means anything. Again, it might be something else that I'm reading into too much, but I'm listing all of the information that I have here, and we'll dissect it, and we'll continue to pay attention to it as more comes out of this game. Now, of course, during the investor presentation, the Marvel license and the online Marvel title, the untitled Marvel game, is not listed until, is not even noted as being in the pipeline until 2023 plus. So it's clearly a little ways off before the title's released, before they're expecting to release it. There is no notes at all on reveals or announcements or being prepared for this. It is simply that the Marvel online game is a part of their longer-term goals, and this is what they're actively working on. They do not note in any presentation, in anything that they've done at their recent presentation, they do not call it a revival of the previous Marvel Universe MMO that they were working on. They don't call it a revival in any way. They don't call it a reboot. They don't call it a rebirth. There's no phrases like that. They are labeling it and treating it, at least in terms of communication with their investors, as a completely all brand new title, which again makes sense because there's currently no evidence that they are picking up where the last team left off, because again, that team was laid off. None of those people have carried over. Those people who worked on the Marvel MMO from 2017 through 2018 are gone. They're not at Daybreak Austin's, Dimensional Inc. They are not there. So what, at the very least, they're going to be doing is still widely open to speculation. It's not, there's no information listed on any type of, character creation. And again, there's no listing about classes on, monthly costs. Is there going to be a subscription fee? There's nothing like that. We literally have nothing like that. I just wanted to cover an interesting story about where this studio has been, because the studio itself has been associated, in terms of Daybreak Games and in terms of this Austin studio, they have been associated with the Marvel Universe MMO before, but we don't want to get our wires crossed and expect it to just be that continued and picking up where they left off. So again, to summarize one more time, From 2017 to 2018, Daybreak Austin worked on a Marvel Universe MMO that was going to be in the vein of a very traditional MMORPG. In December 2018, more than 70 people at Daybreak Austin were laid off, and that was the team working on the Marvel Universe MMO. The Marvel Universe MMO was noted as having severe creative differences and problems from the top, from leadership, that led to its collapse. And it has languished. It has not been worked on since then. Now it is being noted that Dimensional Ink Games, again, that Austin studio, now referred to as Dimensional Ink, not Daybreak Austin, Dimensional Ink Games is now working on a Marvel massively multiplayer online game, and it is being led by Jack Emmert. It is a part of Enid Global 7's longer-term goals, and they are excited about what Daybreak Games and Dimensional Ink are going to do with the Marvel license. So, now that all this has been collected for you here, I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Do you want something more traditional in terms of an MMO? Do you want the classes? Do you want to create your own character? Are you wanting more to play as the, iconic Marvel characters? Like, what are you wanting from this? Like, what do you want from a game like this? What's going to make this game something that you jump to? How do you feel about a subscription fee, a monthly subscription fee to play? Are you concerned about a free-to-play model? What are your thoughts? Let's get this conversation rolling, because we're in it for the long haul. Unless something ends up being fast-tracked, it doesn't look like Dimensional Ink is going to have the, we're not going to be hearing from this game for, 2 to 3 years. So we got to settle in. We can keep the hype alive, but we got to settle in at this point. Now, as I said at the top of the video, to my Avengers, to my patrons, thank you so much for your support and for making this content possible. We are completely user-funded. Please consider, if you are able, following that link in the description below and become an Avenger today by joining our Patreon. To everyone watching, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I really do appreciate it. Please, before you leave, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and consider sharing this on your favorite social media platform. It helps immensely with YouTube's analytics and algorithms, and it basically lets YouTube know that, hey, people like what they're watching. Let's also recommend the channel. So thank you. Above all else, and most importantly, stay safe, take care of others, and have an absolutely wonderful day. Bye, everyone.